economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
Welcome. Glad you're with us. Going to be joined by Anni Cyrus here in just one moment to talk about Iran, Venezuela, so much in the news. And talking about news, there are video clips that are circulating today on social media of myself and Sidney Powell. Sidney, of course, was with us as a keynote speaker here in town at our National Worldview Weekend Conference in October. I've been interviewing Sidney for several years. And as you know, Sidney Powell, the attorney who also had been a special prosecutor at the DOJ, was warning that these machines are being used to overthrow elections in America. And how many of us were mocked as conspiracy theorists, right-wing crazies, all the different names that came down, right? Now, before I knew Sidney, of course, I was writing and talking about the CIA and their involvement in murdering a sitting president, John F. Kennedy. We know this is also something that is believed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Here's a tweet. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the most courageous newscast in 60 years. The CIA's murder of my uncle. The CIA's murder of my uncle was a successful coup d'etat from which our democracy has never recovered. And I, of course, gave that tweet by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the air a long time ago. But before I was interviewing Sidney and even knew Sidney personally, this audience will remember, and this is the quickest I could find just minutes before the theme music started. Here is a broadcast from September 15th, 2020. September 15th, 2020. The election was in November. The coup d'etat was in November. And yet in September of 2020, I asked on this broadcast, is America facing a color revolution? And that was part 2. So I probably had done something on that on the 14th of September. But this is what I found just very quickly. Throughout 2020, you guys remember all the different broadcasts I was doing on what is a color revolution and how will it happen, and the documents that we had and the history that we had, and warning that it would be our CIA, our intelligence, the black hats in the CIA that would be involved in overthrowing the election. And that's exactly what happened. Now, today, there are videos, as I said, circulating of me interviewing Sidney Powell. Early on, talking about Venezuela, software, the intelligence community. You can call it hammer, you can call it scorecard. I don't care what the name is. I really don't. The name doesn't matter. What matters is, are there computer programs, are there software, is there lines of code and data that allows elections to be stolen? And are there a collection of black hat people in the intel community that have been a part of that? Well, now it seems as though there is information coming out to that fact, which is why the interviews of mine with Sidney Powell, and there's more than one, that is now going around. You go over to worldviewreport.com, worldviewreport.com. You'll see I've linked an article there. If I can find it myself real quick. Here we go. Here's the email that confirms the CIA overthrew the U.S. government in 2020. That's dated today, January 6th, January 6th, 2025. The email that confirms the CIA overthrew the U.S. government in 2020. In the final week, says the article at Revolver, of the 2020 presidential election, Joe Biden was struggling. He was unpopular, uninspiring, and clearly not firing on all cylinders. Then the Hunter Biden laptop made an appearance, and suddenly the election was real at real risk of slipping out of his shaky hands. The laptop wasn't rumor or speculation. It was real and verifiable, which, by the way, I interviewed the man that had that laptop that was dropped off at his computer store. Remember that guy? I interviewed him for television. But the deep state wagon started circling right away. Americans were immediately told not to trust their lying eyes, and the story was dismissed as Russian disinformation. Now the infamous letter signed by 51 former intelligence officials, known these days as the spies who lied, didn't start organically. In other words, this wasn't some good faith warning to the public by high-ranking bigwigs who cared deeply about the truth. It was actually a coordinated political intervention. These high-ranking current and former intelligence officials, many with deep ties to the CIA, used their credibility to create a completely false narrative at the exact moment it would do the most damage to Donald Trump and save Joe Biden's campaign. And it now is going through the documents. The documents are now being put out. The receipts are being shown. The documentation is being shown to the American public. And the list of names and the people involved, according to this report. We know for a matter of fact that our CIA was involved in overthrowing governments overseas. We know they were involved in these color revolutions overseas. We know for a matter of fact that the CIA was involved in the World Economic Forum and a live simulation. I provided the screenshot for that several years ago. This is from 2019. World Economic Forum live simulation exercise to prepare public and private leaders for pandemic response. And who was there? Former Deputy Director of the Central Intelligence Agency in 2019. Of course, then COVID happened. We have an article in the Washington Post dated December 22nd, 1963, entitled "The Limit the CIA Role to Intelligence." And that was written by none other than President Harry S. Truman, the former president, stating, "This is why I started the CIA, and it became something that I did not intend for it to become." I believe that was supposed to have run again later in the day in another edition. It didn't happen. Here's a letter that I stumbled on in my research in 2021, and it's dated December 10th, 2020, and it's on congressional letterhead, the United States Congress, House of Representatives, December 10th, 2020. And it's by a Bill Posey, a U.S. congressman from Florida. And what he says is that my understanding is that the origins of Smartmatic, that's one of the voting machine companies, began in Venezuela under the regime of Hugo Chavez. The election software was used for the presidential elections that President Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro won. In each of those elections, opposition parties claimed that fraud occurred. In fact, a 2013 U.S. Department of State country report on Venezuela states in the executive summary that, quote, authorities announced that Nicolas Maduro had won the presidency, April 14, 2013, by a 1.49% margin amid allegations of pre- and post-election fraud based on a number of irregularities, including government interference, the use of state resources by the ruling party, and voter manipulation, end quote. Furthermore, in a recent sworn affidavit filed with a Georgia election lawsuit, a key witness describes firsthand accounts of how Hugo Chavez asked Smartmatic to design a new election system for Venezuela and, quote, was most insistent that Smartmatic designed the system in a way that the system could change the vote of each voter without being detected, end quote. The congressman says, I understand that Smartmatic went on to participate in every Venezuelan election since 2018. The witness goes on to state that in 2013 election, the, quote, Smartmatic electoral management system was used to manipulate and change results for the person to succeed Hugo Chavez, end quote. It is concerning that creation of such system would have circumvented the will of the Venezuelan people and contributed to keeping Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro in power where their people suffered greatly. Knowing of the origins of Smartmatic software was the Central Intelligence Agency. He asked, knowing of the origins of Smartmatic software, was the Central Intelligence Agency aware of its use in Dominion equipment during previous U.S. elections and the 2020 general election? Question mark. If so, Did the CIA report the vulnerabilities of the software to other federal agencies or states? Question mark. Has the Inspector General's office conducted a national security investigation on the CIA's connection, if any, with Smartmatic, Seidel, or any other company associated with the election software or hardware? Question mark. Did foreign actors interfere in our election in states that use this questionable software? Question mark. And finally, please provide all relevant documents that deal with the questions above. Now, this is an article by U.S. Congressman Bill Posey of Florida that I obtained in 2021. And then I went on to talk to two of his staffers who provided me by email with a slew of other documentation. And yet, many people wanted to discount all of this as conspiracy. Now, who was this congressman writing the letter to? He was writing it to the Inspector General over the CIA and the CIA director herself. He goes on to say, quote, the citizens of the United States need assurance that a free and a fair election occurred. Without a legitimate investigation by the CIA and Inspector General, the outcome of the election results will be questioned by many Americans. Therefore, I urge you to fully investigate the CIA's role involving these election companies, end quote. Did you hear what he just said in the last sentence? Therefore, I urge you to fully investigate the CIA's role involving these election companies. He didn't ask a question. Notice he was asking a lot of questions and he stopped. And he didn't ask a question. He made a statement. I urge you to fully investigate the CIA's role, not perceived role, perhaps role, to investigate if they had a role. He said, investigate the CIA's role involving these election companies. Now, I was put under deposition with 3 different cases related to Smartmatic and Dominion. And in the first one, I brought out this information. And you should have seen the face of the attorney asking me these questions. He did not know what to say or do. If you get a hold of the deposition, which I'm sure is out there online, you'll see that he tried to stop me. And I said, no, I am going to finish this. And I looked into the camera and at the other end of the table and said, I know exactly who was involved in this voter fraud. And I believe it goes all the way to the CIA. Now, I'm sure that attorney and even my attorney were like, okay, whatever. Let me tell you something. Nothing against my own attorneys. But what I have found is a lot of times I'm smarter than my attorneys. And many of you who are business people, you find out the same thing. And sometimes you're like, well, then find a better attorney. Well, they're good at corporate law. They're good at, litigation. But that's what they know. They don't know the things that you know in this audience. You and myself are actually more discerning, more knowledgeable than almost any other people in the country. And I've had many people high up in the intelligence arena say, I listened to your show. You know more than people with high-level classification because of 36 years of studying such broad topics. That's not boasting. That's what happens when you're an approved workman. And so, yeah, I find out times I have to lead my attorneys down the path, only to have them come to the conclusion that they wanted to question whether there was any validity to it. And I'm sure my attorney sitting there was like, what is he talking about? Well, you know what? I'm used to people questioning us. But once again, we have been proven right because we do our homework. I'll have more on this in a few clips and then Anni Cyrus. Folks, it's all coming out.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, we're back. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. I'm very passionate about this topic today, if you can't tell, because we have spent, what is this now? 2020, we spent a big chunk of 2020, starting in the summer of 2020, started warning about a color revolution in the summer of 2020. I showed you the September shows, but we were doing shows before that. So half of 2020, all of 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 5.5 years. 5.5 years. We have been saying the same thing consistently with documentation and showing the screenshots and the data on the television screen. And we have been interviewing the attorneys and the experts, and we have been interviewed the whistleblowers and the members of the House or Senate in various states, and the IT guys and the experts, people like Sidney Powell and others. General Michael Flynn gave me the first interview after he was pardoned by President Trump. I asked him why. He said, because I liked your program. He didn't get 3 stars on his shoulder because he doesn't know what's going on and how things happen in the intelligence arena. That was one of his areas of expertise. The same thing can be said for General Thomas McInerney. Now, we don't have to agree with these gentlemen on everything, and you don't have to agree with me on everything. And we don't always get everything 100% right, but we have a really good track record. Again, that's not boasting. That comes from hard work. There's nothing inappropriate about saying, look, we endeavor to work and research and study and be documented and present truth. And yes, it gets very frustrating in my world to spend years being called names, our credibility questioned. Even the professionals that work around us at times, we have to bring them along, like that deposition I was talking about. I'm sure everybody in that room at that long table, when I went on my diatribe about the CIA and elections and this letter from Congressman Bill Posey, were like, cuckoo. Well, you know what? People's lack of being informed or studied doesn't make me wrong. Now, I'm not criticizing them because that's not their life work. That's not their life calling. But what gets frustrating at times is when you even have to try to bring along your friends. And some of you are trying to bring along your family. Some of you are trying to bring along your spouse. God bless my wife. I've never had to bring her along. My wife has always been one as someone with a college degree, a medical social worker, background in a hospital, hospice. Very smart. Good gut reactions. Many things we do here or don't do here because she's given me her gut reaction. And I often follow it. And I'm thankful I'm not in a marriage where I have to drag my wife along, or she's thinking, what is he into now? What is he promoting now? What is he talking about now? Because she listens to the broadcast and she listens to the other broadcast and she hears the conversations. And she was in the room over and over when General Flynn and Sidney Powell and all these other people, she was there. She was at those symposiums. She was at those events. She was taking it all in. And it's very frustrating, I know, for many of you in this audience, because you're trying to bring your own spouse along. It's bad enough to have family and friends question you or act like you're crazy or a conspiracy theorist or a little out there. It's got to be really difficult to have a spouse like that. And some of you have been patient and you have brought your spouse along and they're now with you. Praise God. I'm sure that makes your life a lot more comforting, tranquil. But we've been very consistent. And of course, as a researcher, I dig and I find everything I can. And one of the things I found was an article that I brought to you guys back then, which was May 1984. Jesse Helms, the U.S. Senator at the time from where? North Carolina. Helms This is the Washington Times, May 9th, 1984. Helms says the CIA rigged election in El Salvador. CIA rigged the election in El Salvador. He was very upset about it. He said the CIA and the State Department for 2 years have funneled funds and other assistance directly into Mr. Durante's campaign without Mr. Reagan, President Reagan's approval. No response was immediately available from the White House, State Department, to the senator's charges. Last week, Mr. Helms asked President Reagan to remove the U.S. ambassador in El Salvador, Thomas Pickering, because he allegedly aided Mr. Durante's candidacy. But yesterday, Mr. Helms said the ambassador was but one player in a larger drama. Mr. Helms said that the funding decision was made by the interagency group on Central America that coordinated policy in the executive branch. Mr. Helms said the U.S. efforts to control the election outcome undermine the whole purpose of our policy in El Salvador to build democracy. Mr. Helms said that the support reportedly given to Mr. Durante included funds for 400 precinct organizers, a model press operation, technical advice, and funds for the, listen now, quote, computer voter registration system, end quote. Did you hear that? Computer voter registration system that disenfranchised 20% of the voters in the first time around. Disenfranchised 20% of the voters the first time around, end quote. It's long held the CIA has been overthrowing elections. I think we even have a former CIA director that I personally met telling, what's her face? Laura Ingraham. He asked her, have we ever been involved in election interference in other countries? Yes. Have we ever been involved in that in the U.S.? He laughed and didn't answer. You can go find the video. We've played it. Why am I going through this? Just to say, see, I was right? To say, quote, we were right, all of us that worked together on this? No. That's not the important point. The important point here is we must never give up, even in the face of opposition from, even if it's family or friends or your own spouse. You continue to, as graciously as you can, to push through, because eventually the truth will win out. And if not in this life, in the next. And this is all the more urgent with what's going on in Venezuela, what Maduro is willing to admit to, any kind of deal he's willing to cut. Because if we don't fix this problem in our country before President Trump leaves, we are going to be right back where we were. And I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in having our government run by a bunch of CIA intelligence folks that I don't think have any loyalty to the Constitution. Many of them who I think have been communists by their own admission, voted for Gus Hall, the former presidential candidate in the 70s and 80s, and have even converted to Islam. Some of them, I'm told. So here we are with an opportunity to say, look, American people, we tried warning you. Many of you, probably more than half the country wanted to say that was crazy talk. Republicans wanted to tell Donald Trump in 2020 to quit talking about, in 2021, in 2022, 2023, quit talking about election fraud. Get over it. No. You don't get over a coup d'etat. And you must fix it, or you will continue to have a government that is run by people outside of the law. And that never ends well for law-abiding people, much less conservatives and Christians. Here's a quick clip of me interviewing Sidney Powell several years ago. Then we're going to go to Anni Cyrus. Listen to this. You put it over there for me to play? All right, let me grab it here. All right, here's the first one. It's 6 minutes, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it'll give you a little start. Here we go.
So one of the patents is from, so we're talking about multiple patents here by different people, but one of them is for a patent from 2006 from the Defense Department. Why would the Defense Department want to patent software that allows them to flip elections?
Yes, that's a good question, isn't it?
Do you know which division inside the Department of Defense? Is it one of our intelligence divisions inside the DoD?
No, at one point, there are actually two patents that are key. One in 2005 for dynamic auditing of elections that allows them to monitor it real time. And that was done with the National Institute of Health, which I don't exactly understand. At least that's what it says. And of course, these patents even admittedly say they will develop uses beyond, what they say in the patents themselves. So I think there's a lot of room there for people to use them however they want to be used. But then the one that allows them to calculate an algorithm to come out with a predetermined result of an election is the one.
An algorithm that comes out with a predetermined election.
From 2006, and I think that was the Defense Department, and then it was given to a university in New Jersey that is an international think shop, apparently.
What does that mean?
A lot of foreign students are at that university. Oh, and here's another interesting tidbit.
Wait a minute, Michigan? Have you guys done any research related to Michigan and the CCP and CCP students? Question mark. Wow. Isn't that interesting with what we know now?
A year before the election of 2020, Dominion Voting Systems assigned all 19 of its patents for election technology to the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. And then there was an infusion of over 400 million, we believe, to State Street Capital, which owns Dominion now.
Okay, let's go back over that. The bank and
all right, we'll stop right there just for the sake of time. There was one more I want to play. This was a shorter clip. That wasn't all of that one. But here's one more. Listen to this one in another interview I did with Sidney Powell.
I reached out to you and said, oh my, there's so much going on, particularly because last night we had Seth Ketchel on, and Seth said, I think you need to get Sidney back on. I think she's got some breaking news. And you also sent out an email alert today. You do have some breaking news tonight, right, Sidney?
Yes, we sent out 2 email alerts. One has the contents or some of the contents of the government patents that I believe we discussed briefly last week that show that starting in at least 2003, the government itself developed an interest in and funded patents that will both real-time audit an election, allow them to manipulate the votes in an election, and inject false voters and false identifications for voters, as well as generate an algorithm that can predetermine the results of an election depending on the way they want it to come out. And those are at defendingtherepublic.org. You can go there to sign up for our new.
All right. So I'll be dealing with that tonight. I've been texting today with Sydney. I think she's going to be on my broadcast Thursday. She's trying to move some things in her schedule around. But here we are, folks. And again, I haven't even gotten into the general from Venezuela that's supposedly writing and admitting things. There's so much here, folks. We are persevering. We'll be right back with Anni Cyrus.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You are watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, guys, we'll have We'll have more on that later tonight with Garland Favorito and others. Let's transition real quick now to Venezuela and dealing with Iran. I had Anni Cyrus on last night, who is from Iran, extensively last night, but there's updates coming in very quickly. She joins us now. Anni, welcome back to the broadcast. And we're on the 74 Christian stations of VCY America, WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and here at Worldview Tube. Thank you for joining us. By the way, what do you make of the first 30 minutes of the broadcast? And how do you think it relates to this topic? We already know there's a connection with Venezuela, but what do you think of the connection between China, Iran, those countries that are working together and their desire, I think, for voter fraud and sources inside our country who I think have more loyalty to China and the CCP and maybe even Iran, because the CIA has a history of kind of lining up with Iran and overthrowing the Shah and putting in the bad guys. So all of this is connected, is it not?
It absolutely is. It's 100% connected. And there were evidence showing Iran helped with Pennsylvania election fraud. Their hackers hacked into some of our machines. So, and as far as alliance, I mean, it's not just CIA. We watched the entire Obama administration pretty much opening the floodgate of money for Iran. Obama and the rest of them. Why am I drawing a blank on her name? Not Homa Abedin, the other, Valerie Jarrett. They all have this love relationship with the regime of Iran. Same thing with China. It is connected. But as you were talking, I was just thinking, two things I was thinking, Brandon. One was, see, this is the result of doing the right thing. I agree, you're not playing those back today to say I was right or we were right, not me, those who were involved with the election fraud coverage. But it's the fact of just do the right thing. It will all come to light when the time is right. So you did the right thing back then, and now a lot of people are coming to learn more about it, just watching those clips coming out after years.
Well, it should encourage people to just keep going, right?
Exactly. Just keep doing the right thing. Don't worry about when it goes viral. Don't worry about how many people listen to it today. Just do the right thing. When the time is right, your message will be heard.
Yep. Well, let's talk about your message. Your message you've been saying for a long time. For the radio audience, I want to bring them up to speed, because what we're wanting now, what you're wanting now, what the prince, the Shah's son, wants is for the American government, the Trump administration, to stay out of Iran. We don't need the CIA pushing President Trump to get behind a particular candidate. The people in Iran need to choose their next leader, not the CIA in America, as they've been prone to doing in countries like Iran. And that is the message now, is the people. It's now a groundswell of the people on the street calling for the prince to return, correct?
Absolutely correct. Yes. The people are wanting the prince coming back, interesting enough, as a monarch, actually. But Prince Pahlavi himself, a lot of Iranians who, like myself, who are reporting and covering and doing analysis, we are praying. We have said it openly, and at this point, we're just praying that President Trump will respect people of Iran, their chance, their decision, and their choice. And instead of trying to be a hero and going in with military action, he will actually take proper steps towards shaking hands with Prince Pahlavi. That's pretty much all we're hoping for. But based on some of today's reporting, unfortunately seems like that is not the case.
Why? What's going on now?
Well, number one is there are confirmations that we are lining up some of our equipment and Delta forces in Iraq. The arrival time is supposed to be sometime between Wednesday and Thursday, and that's not a good sign. We have no business in Iraq unless we're planning to go into Iran. That's one sign. The second sign, again, as of this moment, as I speak to you, Prince Pahlavi's office has not received any calls, emails, letters, anything from the White House yet. So based on those two new reports, it doesn't seem like President Trump is planning to reach out or answer the calls from Prince Pahlavi yet.
Which again, you and I have been saying since last year that we would like to see the prince in one of the 2 yellow chairs in front of the Oval Office fireplace with President Trump. We think that we thought that would have sent a strong message to the freedom fighters, the patriots in Iran. But again, I have to wonder who in the intelligence arena is whispering in President Trump's ear to go with someone that we don't want there. We don't need a puppet of the CIA in Iran. We need a person that the people want and that will be a great leader for their country. And of course, we have to remember that his father modeled the U.S. Constitution for his government in Iran, correct?
His grandfather.
His grandfather.
Yes. His grandfather. Also, his grandfather is the man who banned Sharia, hijab, mosques, and imams in Iran. He did that.
You told the audience last night that the prince and his mother, the queen, their family takes a trip every year to Israel. So you got a guy that in the family that's very loyal to and tied with Israel. I mean, have we seen the prime minister yet, Benjamin Netanyahu, with the prince yet?
We did earlier, not recently. Earlier we have. But we have also heard, that's another thing, not to side with one side or the other, but Bibi Netanyahu and his entire cabinet have released videos directly talking to people of Iran, not sending some threats to the regime, directly talking to the people of Iran. They taken on their social media, again, directly talking to the people of Iran. We have not seen that in America, from the White House, I should say, because we have had few congressmen and few senators who have put out public posts about talking directly to the people of Iran, but nothing much from the White House yet, which makes you, again, wonder. The growing concern from us, Iranians, who are definitely supporting the return of Prince Pahlavi in any form of monarch or republic, either way, we're okay with it. We are concerned that MEK, Mujahideen Khalq, the terrorist Marxist Islamist Iranian group, is pretty much in ears of our government right now because I said it on your show yesterday, they have the support of Republican Party in America. So that's our concern
All right, let's stop right there because that's very important. MEK. I know the name is difficult to pronounce. I love the acronym. MEK. This is a Marxist Islamic group. They're in America. You say they are working heavily with the Republican Party. You have many people who don't seem to know who they are and are supporting them, conservatives, patriots, people that are in the America First, MAGA world, Trump world, that are promoting these people, MEK, and they don't seem to know who they are. Or I would like to think someone's told them by now, but that's very important for people to understand. There's already a group that is a Marxist Islamic group that's making inroads into the Trump administration, into the MAGA world. They would not want to see the Shah son return.
They absolutely would not. No, they would not want to see Prince Pahlavi back in power. They would not want to see Iran freed from Sharia. They just want to see Iran freed from the mullahs so they can take power. Let me just quickly explain something. These people who are supporting MEK, they are very well aware of who MEK is. However, I have heard personally from many of them saying the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The biggest myth ever sold to human society and somehow believed by human society, because they have always been the strongest and most dangerous opposition to Islamic regime of Iran. There is the illusion that they will be better. Everybody is willing to close their eyes in the back, looking back at what they did. MEK, from the day they were established, changing name, changing narrative, changing method, everything until 2008, they have done worse to Iranian people than the regime itself.
Wow, that's saying a lot.
Yes, they blew up buildings in Tehran with innocent Iranians in it. And I was old enough, too young, but old enough to actually remember the footages. Now, I have had argument with some of the American Republican experts who have told me that, oh, they told us that was all propaganda. Regime did it and then blame MEK for it. I was like, really? Have you watched MEK camp videos? Because I have. I have translated over 17 hours of MEK camp in Iraq videos. I have heard the words coming out of the mouth of the leader of MEK. I don't need to know if it was propaganda or it was real. But they refuse to believe it. They have believed that MEK was set up by Islamic regime to be seen as terrorists, to be considered as terrorists, and now we should give them a chance.
Well, you know what? There seems to be a theme here between Keith Ellison and the Attorney General of Minnesota, Mamdani. There seem, and many more that we could mention, there seems to be a theme of the Marxist Islamists, the MEK types in America, and growing around the world. And one has to wonder if this isn't going to be the brand of the new world order, if you will, a mixture of Marxism and Islam, because we know that we're watching the World Summit, the World Government Summit in the UAE. They hold their World Economic Summit over there. That's obviously the Muslims. So you have to wonder if the Marxists and the Islamists are not going to be the ones that are, and at the end of the day, running the New World Order.
Well, for almost a little over a decade now, I have been warning people about red-green axis. That is Marxist-Islamist. I've been warning people that pay attention to their pattern. It doesn't matter what they say. Pay attention to the pattern, how they take over, where it transfers. As much as you think Marxist is the scary part, you should realize Islamists always ended up winning over Marxists after they conquered. Again, let's go back to Iran in 1979 revolution.
And of course, many of these folks in the Arab world, the Islamic world, are all on board with transhumanism. So I don't want to confuse the population, and we have to work very hard not to throw out so many terms. Everybody's eyes roll back in their head. They're like, there's no way I could figure this out. It takes a full-time job. But to the audience, this audience, which is very brilliant and bright, they know we talk a lot about transhumanism, the technocrats. And the reality is Marxism and Islam and the transhumanists, they're already all working together. That's why you have the World Government Summit in the United Arab Emirates, and they're all sitting there talking about blockchains and digital currency and the whole nine yards. So what we're going to see, I think, from a prophetic Bible prophecy standpoint, is a syncretism of the globalist and the Islamist and the Marxist and the transhumanists and the technocrats all working together. And they'll use all of this technology in an updated fashion to enslave people. Now, who ends up running that system, is the conversation we're having now. Ultimately, what role the Antichrist plays, and is he more of a globalist, communitarian, transhumanist? What is it? But at the end of the day, does it really matter the names if it's tyranny and absolute and total control? So I don't want to confuse the audience into thinking that transhumanism, technocracy, isn't involved. I know when we think about Karl Marx, or Mohammed and Allah and these things, we don't really think modern day technology, but they're buying into all this technology big time. I want Annie to comment on that when we come back from the break. And don't forget, Crosstalk with Jim Snyder, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze, is coming up right at the top of the hour, 2 p.m. Central. Be right back. Go to worldviewtalk.com. Get your satellite phone like I have, because you know what? China is in on our power grid. That is a matter of proven fact. If you want to have communications with your loved ones, your family, your children, maybe your spouse travels, maybe you have a child away at college, you want communication should the grid go down. That's why you need a satellite phone, worldviewtalk.com. But look what else they have. They also have solar generators. I have one of their solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400, a solar generator. So I can, of course, charge my satellite phone. I can run my coffee pot. I can run my whole house if I want to. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com, or use that number, 1-866-738-3224. They have very friendly operators that will explain to you their products, but you can explain to them what it is you're desiring to acquire. How much electricity are you wanting to generate with this solar generator? Well, They'll tell you what size you need. WorldviewTalk.com or 1-866-738-3224. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, website, worldviewradio.com. Anni Cyrus, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Liveuptofreedom.substack.com. You'll also find her at liveuptofreedom.com, the shorter website, liveuptofreedom.com. She's on each and every day on our network here at Worldview Tube. Anni, comment on that real quick before I play some videos here and audio about what I just said, that just because we're talking about Marxism and Karl Marx and how far back that goes and Allah and Mohammed and all this doesn't mean that they aren't up on the 21st century technology and using it for their worldview.
Governments were the first to not just welcome the idea, but invest, not out of pocket, invest with hosting, putting events together and paying for all the attendees when the digital currency ever dropped. The first time somebody said digital currency, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Emirat, Saudi Arabia, they ran. They're like, where do I sign up, please? It's very beneficial for them. Mm-hmm. So yes, they're a huge part of the entire globalism. And again, I have tried to draw the parallel of, remember, the only cult, let's call it that for now, out there that existed 1400 years surviving and at times thriving, that has the ultimate globalism goal is Islam under the name of global caliphate. So any cause that will get them closer to that global caliphate is a go. They will join it.
Sure. Let's go to a video coming out of Iran. Here we go. Play it. You can tell us what's going on here. It's a crowd cheering for those on radio. That's all it is. But
you see the number of people.
I was going to say, but it is a huge crowd, Anni.
That's huge. Actually, we talked about this. Well, in a different way, we talked about this last night, but I wanted to make sure to send you this video. And one of two reasons that I have this settle a smile on my face all day. What you just watched is a city inside a province that we talked about when you were talking about biblical prophecies, Elam. Mm-hmm. What you just watched is the first city in Iran. The cheer you hear is the people have taken the city.
Wow.
And that is Elam. It's a city inside Elam where we were promised that the kingdom will return or we will be built.
Well, that's another one.
Oh, that's the same city. It's a good one to play.
Okay.
You can play it without audio, and I will explain what you're looking at if you want. This is the same city. What you see on roof are the police officers, not IRGC or Besiege, local police officers. They're waving and cheering with the people, and the people are chanting for the police to join them. This is how they took the city. The police joined the people. This is the local police. I repeat, this is not IRGC. This is not riot police. This is the local police. That the final step was they joined the people in the name of the town, for anyone who cares to know, is Abadaneh, and it is inside Elam.
So
this
what
was
day 11 now, Anni?
We just closed day 10. It is, yes, we just stepped into day 11. So these are videos from night of day 10.
And how long do you think this will go on? And are we, and I pray we don't, are we going to see them eventually roll out the tanks?
I have to give you the same answer I did yesterday. It all depends on will President Trump stay out of it or not. If we stay out of it, first thing that's going to happen. If we do stay out of it. Now, I should add the second reason I have this one. Crown Prince Pahlavi today, it was minutes before I joined you on your radio, released his very first official call to action. And the call to action he put out is for all Iranians inside Iran on Thursday night and Friday night, wherever they are, on the streets, in their home, on their roof, whatever, to chant. He did not tell them what to chant. He said, I want you to get out and chant. And when I see your chant, I will release the next call to action. I think all of your audience can connect the dots from that call to action. We just received our first official announcement by Crown Pahlavi. One city is taken. We have reports from other cities that the numbers are growing and growing. So if we do as U.S., when I say we, it's hard for me, I'm talking on both sides. If U.S. stays out of this, there is a very good chance that next week you'll see what you've seen before. Much bigger numbers on the street and the riot police full force out, which is where things are supposed to go, because that is when the final call to action will come. Okay,
so let's move real quick to Venezuela. What are your thoughts there, and how does this play into Iran?
Venezuela, it's so, I'm sorry, I sound like a broken record. First of all, one thing about Venezuela, I have personal feelings about it. I don't have personal opinion. I just want to say this because one of your lovely audience messaged me last night saying you didn't say anything after Brandon said, I'm happy about what happened. I don't have a personal opinion. I have personal feelings, and I keep those to myself because I'm supposed to be a professional journalist. I pray people of Venezuela find their freedom and find their voice and whatever might happen. What I do know is if the current assigned government, which is Vice President of Maduro, if she does stay in place, it's going to be a huge hit to the regime of Iran. As I released on my Substack earlier today, they need money. And if the vice president stays in power, she's not going to pay them back the $140 million Maduro owed them, not as a borrow, but exchange of
billion, right?
That's what I said, billion.
Billion.
What did I say? Did I say million? I
just want to make sure.
140 billion with a B. She's not going to pay that back. So the regime is already collapsing. Economically, they're collapsing. They're so desperate. They offered people of Iran yesterday that we will give you $7 a month help. Go home and stop the operations.
They're gonna stay in tyranny for $7 a month. I want to say real quickly before we lose our radio audience that how does this all fit into Bible prophecy? We addressed it last night. Persia, as it was discussed in the Bible, like in Ezekiel 38:39, that encompassed a lot of countries like Afghanistan, Turkey, many others that are mentioned in that coalition. And so when we talk about Persia moving with that coalition against Russia, you could have freedom in Iran and still have the other countries that make up the former biblical Persia move against Israel. Quick, yes, Annie? Yes?
100%,
All
yes.
right. We're running out of time. The computer's going to take it. Stay tuned for Crosstalk. Go to our website, too, liveuptofreedom.com. Take care. And we're back. So 100% yes, Annie. And the reason I bring that up is because people are saying, wait a minute, does this set back the clock on Bible prophecy? Everything was lining up, and now all of a sudden, I guess we're years away from Gog Magog. Of course, we don't know when Gog Magog happens, the coalition that moves against Israel, as described in Ezekiel 38:39. Is that before the rapture? It is after the rapture? We don't know. Theologians and prophecy guys debate that all the time. They all agree it's going to happen. The timing is where the problem is. And that is the case with many of the Bible prophecy guys. Even the dispensationalists, we disagree sometimes on the timing. We agree that it's going to happen, but when will that happen? But for those interested in tracking Bible prophecy, Iran could become a free society again that is in friendship with Iran, but that doesn't mean that you don't still have the coalition that includes parts of the original Persia move against Iran, correct?
Against Israel, yes.
I mean, yes, thank you.
Yes. Again, as we mentioned on your show, 1/20th of Persia is what we see as Iran today. The rest still exist. Most of them doesn't look like they're gonna be freed anytime soon. Now, I have had Afghans reaching out to me, praying for my people, which is very kind of them because they suffer under Taliban themselves. But I have heard from them saying, we can't wait for a free Iran where you guys can help us free ourselves. Yes, it's a domino effect, and that's why they don't want a free Iran. Elites know whenever Iran was free, Middle East was free. There was no chaos. There was no what you see in the last 47 years. So, but the coalition is there. And again, Turkey plays the hugest part of this prophecy. And Turkey isn't going anywhere. Turkey isn't being touched. Why? I don't know. But EU is going to continue allowing Turkey to be part of EU. They're going to continue allowing them to do business. US, as you know, we recently became friends with them again. With Erdogan, we're selling them F-35s. So Turkey is there to carry the mission.
All right, Anni Cyrus, liveuptofreedom.com, and Substack is liveuptofreedom.substack.com. And of course, you can check out her gorgeous handmade artwork at lutfstudio.com. As always, Anni, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brenna.
And her broadcast is each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on Worldview Tube at 3 p.m. Central, right, guys? 3 p.m. Central each and every day here at Worldview Tube. Okay, hey, before we go, I dropped some weight during the holiday break. I don't know if you noticed that or not. Bella melts, folks. Would you consider going to melissahousebg.com? This is selling like crazy. So many of you are ordering Bella Grace, the elixir that I take every day, and many of you are ordering the Bella Melts, the all-natural Bella Melts. Listen now, that naturally stimulates your GLP-1 to help you lose weight. There are also some other health benefits with these all-natural products in the Bella Melts. You don't have to do the stuff with a needle and that stuff that's so expensive that has all kinds of very negative medical side effects. We're talking all natural here to stimulate your own natural GLP-1 in your body. You can check it out at melissahousebg.com. They're little caramels. You can take one before each meal. It curbs your appetite, speeds up your calorie burning. So this is a lot of other benefits as well. But I've dropped weight. I'm down now to 160, about 166. I'm trying to get to 165. We'll see after that. But Melissa's been taking it. A lot of you are taking it. We've even had wonderful reports from Dr. Bashima about the all-natural ingredients in the Bella Melt as well. So it is selling like crazy. And that's because a lot of you are, well, joining us and taking it as well and trying to get in shape here in 2026. I highly recommend you do what we do. I take the Bella Grace elixir every day with the high-end collagen, peptides cut short so your body absorbs it, the cat's claw, which decreases your inflammation. A lot of our problems are inflammation related. We know that, right? And then it has the astaxanthin. That takes on the free radicals and it crosses the brain-blood barrier. Over 100 clinical trials, over 100 clinical trials on the Bella Grace elixir. So check out the Bella Grace elixir, check out the Bella Melts, all of it. And of course, you can try the skincare, which Melissa uses and loves. All of it is at melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. The other thing, of course, you know I do each and every day is Numi. Numi, I swish with the Numi to get that glutathione to detox your cells. There's so many toxins in the air, fabrics, food. No matter how hard we try, folks, it's there. So, glutathione, I swish with the Numi for about 3 minutes, and you can swallow it or spit it out. Studies show that it can remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's or dementia. And then the third thing I do every day is Gatatana. That's the phytoplankton. One scoop is the equivalent of 90 billion plant cells. Remember the guy that came up with it? He had a terminal diagnosis, got on the phytoplankton, lived another 10 years. That's at melissahousegpa.com, guys. Lower third for that. melissahousegpa.com. You'll find it all. Very easy website, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. All of it's there, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. May God save America. Take care. Tonight on the Worldview Report, President Trump's opponents keep saying this can't be done, but a major operation in Venezuela just sent a